Machiavelli once said, "A wise prince can subdue his enemies without ever drawing his sword." Picture this. You walk into a crowded room, no one knows your name, you don't say a word. Yet within 10 seconds, every eye finds you. Not because of your looks, not because of fame, but because of something harder to define. It's a stillness as heavy as steel. An atmosphere that makes even the most confident person slow their pace. They don't know what you'll do next. They only know they can't ignore you. Most men never experience this. They enter a room and fade into the background. They speak, but nothing they say lingers. They smile, but no one stops to notice. Because they arrive seeking acceptance instead of arriving to alter the atmosphere. Respect is never given to the one who chases it. It belongs to the one who makes others adjust their breath when they stand nearby. And here's the truth. Real power isn't in the volume of your voice. It's in the weight of your silence. In the minutes ahead, I'm going to show you how to become the kind of man the world can't read, but is forced to respect. Through Machiavelli's cold principles and through a weapon no one ever taught you. Deliberate silence. You were taught from an early age, be kind, be honest, be yourself, and the world will respect you for it. But how many times did you do all the right things only to be ignored? How many times did you open up only to have your words used against you? How many times did you speak your truth and realize no one cared to listen? Here's what they never told you. People don't respect what they fully understand. They respect what they can't predict. Most men make the same fatal mistake. They try to be liked, not respected. They seek comfort, not control. They speak endlessly, thinking more words equal more value. But the more they speak, the cheaper their presence becomes. Picture this. You're in a meeting, you speak up, someone cuts you off. You feel the need to respond, to justify, to reclaim the room. So you rush to explain, to prove you're right. But the only thing you prove is that you were rattled. Or maybe it's on a date, she throws a subtle jab. You laugh nervously, rush to defend yourself. You think you're diffusing tension, but what you've really done is hand her the exact tool to test you again. Machiavelli would smirk. To him, revealing your emotional state is like a king removing his armor mid-battle. Once they can read you, they don't just understand you, they rewrite you. This is why people cut you off. Why they interrupt, dismiss, disrespect. Not because they're stronger, but because you're predictable. You get tense when they're tense. You get soft when they go cold. You react to their tone, but they never adjust to yours. Power isn't in winning arguments. It's in making others too unsure to even challenge you. If life is a chessboard, most men move too fast, too early, responding to every piece that shifts. But the Machiavellian man, he watches, he waits, he lets others reveal themselves first. And then, with one quiet move, he flips the entire board. From now on, your question is no longer, how do I feel right now? It becomes, what does this moment require from me? Because the second you let your mood decide your response, you've already given your power away. Machiavelli had a word for this kind of power, la simulazione, the art of strategic concealment. Not pretending, not performing, but holding back just enough to stay unreadable, because once people can't figure you out, they're forced to respect you. Imagine a battlefield. Your enemy stands across from you, waiting. They study your eyes, your breath, your posture, trying to guess your next move, but you don't reveal anything. You stand still, silent, composed, and that silence becomes louder than any threat. The same principle applies in a boardroom, a negotiation, a conversation. Power is not about making noise. It's about controlling the tempo. Most people live in reaction mode. Someone insults them, they fire back. Someone doubts them, they rush to explain. Someone challenges them, they defend, justify, scramble to prove their worth. And with every reaction, they lose presence. They reveal exactly how to push, how to trigger, how to win against them. The Machiavellian man doesn't give that away. He sets the tone. If someone raises their voice, he lowers his. If someone gets emotional, he gets calmer. If someone demands a response, he offers silence. And that silence does more than protect. It shifts the balance. It leaves the other person filling in the blanks. With doubt, with insecurity, with fear. Think about it. A seasoned negotiator once told me he used to pause for 10 seconds after an offer was made. 10 seconds of silence, not because he needed time to think, but because he knew the other person would break first. They'd second guess themselves and they'd lower the price just to escape the discomfort of not knowing what he was thinking. That's the power of la simulazione. You don't show your next move. You let others trip over their assumptions. And no, this isn't passivity. It's precision. It's holding the strike until the moment matters most. When you stop reacting, you start dictating, and the man who dictates the emotional tempo controls the room. In the next section, you'll see what happens when a man doesn't control that tempo and how just one moment of emotional collapse can destroy everything he's built. Let me tell you about two men. Both walk into the same room, same suit, same setting, same stakes, but only one walks out in control. The first man enters with visible confidence, but it's not real. It's the kind that cracks the moment tension shows up. Someone disagrees with his idea. He tenses, his tone changes, he starts speaking faster, his posture tightens, his words come out sharp, defensive. He explains, then over-explains, and suddenly he's not leading anymore. He's chasing. People stop listening to his message. They start watching his state, and that's what they remember, not his logic. His unraveling, he exposed the need, the pressure, the subtle desperation, and in doing so, he lost the room. Not because his idea was weak, but because he was, now contrast him with the second man. He walks in calm, quiet, unshaken. When challenged, he doesn't react. He observes, he waits, he lets others burn through their energy first. Then, when the moment peaks, he speaks just once, not loudly, not emotionally, but with such control that the room shifts around him. This is the difference. One man tries to hold the room with noise. The other owns it with presence. And chances are you've been both. You've been the man who explained too much, who flinched, who gave away his control with every rushed word. Not all at once, but slowly, in small moments. Moments when you smiled too quickly, apologized too fast, laughed to hide discomfort, explained when silence would have said more. Each time you leaked power, and the people around you, they noticed. They stored it. They learned where your cracks are and how to push when they need to. Machiavelli understood this. He warned, never let them see what makes you tremble, because once they know your triggers, they own the switch. You're no longer seen for what you say. You're measured by what you reveal while saying it. From here, you have a choice. Keep leaking and keep being overlooked, or learn how to seal every crack, how to move with intention. How to make silence say what panic never could. In the next section, we begin to rebuild. Not your style, not your voice, but your psychological identity from the inside out. It's time to rebuild. Not your style, not your voice, but the way you exist in a room. You've spent most of your life reacting to tone, to pressure, to people who didn't earn your energy. That ends now. From this moment forward, you are no longer part of the emotional noise. You are the still frame in a world that won't stop shaking. You don't speak to be heard. You speak to be remembered. You don't show up to be liked. You show up to recalibrate the atmosphere. Your silence is no longer awkward. It's a filter. It repels the shallow. It draws in those who recognize strength that doesn't need to announce itself. You're not cold. You're focused. You're not distant. You're precise, and yes, some people will call you arrogant, detached, unfeeling. Let them, because what they call arrogance is usually just self-respect with boundaries. And what they call too quiet is usually just someone who refuses to bleed on command. You've been the version of yourself that overshared, over-explained, overreacted. That version, he's gone. Not with drama, but with discipline, you buried him quietly. And in his place, you've built someone far more dangerous. A man who can't be moved from the outside because he's already mastered the inside. Now, how do you keep this new foundation steady? You train it, not with theory, not with mantras, but with action, with habits, with presence. In the next section, you'll learn the 5 specific tools that will turn this mindset into muscle memory, because the man who controls himself doesn't just survive pressure. He becomes the pressure. Here's where it gets real. You don't build cold presence by reading quotes. You build it with weapons, refined, trained, used in silence. These are 5 tools you need to drill until they become instinct. Because when pressure comes, you don't want to remember strategy. You want to become it. Tool 1, the strategic pause. Next time someone disrespects you, don't respond immediately. Wait 2 seconds. Just breathe. Let the space get heavy. Let them feel your energy pull back. Then answer if you still feel like it. Why? Because people fear what they can't predict. And nothing is harder to predict than a man who doesn't flinch. Tool 2. Eye contact without emotion. Most people blink too much, look away, look down. You don't. You train yourself to hold eye contact with no smile, no frown, no signal. Your eyes are not for validation. They're for observation. You're not performing. You're studying. Tool 3, controlled breathing. Your breath is your rhythm. Slow inhales, even slower exhales. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Do this under pressure. And you control the room without speaking. Tool 4, the non-reaction test. Pick a trigger, a word, a tone, a gesture that usually gets under your skin. Now train yourself to feel it without showing it. Someone mocks you, you don't defend. You don't explain. You smile, not out of submission, but because you know the game and you refuse to play it their way. Tool 5, energy withdrawal. This is your nuclear move. When someone consistently drains you, you don't confront, you don't warn, you just remove your energy. No, big goodbye. No closing argument. Just distance. Let your absence become louder than your presence ever was. These are not gimmicks. These are tactics. They don't just protect your mood. They project strength without a single outburst. Train them until they're automatic, because the man who masters these 5 doesn't manage emotions. He commands attention. Next, I'll show you what happens when these tools become your identity. When silence isn't just a habit, it's your legacy. Picture this. One day, you walk into a room, no one claps, no one greets you with praise, but something shifts. The conversation slows. The energy drops. People turn, not because they know who you are, but because they feel something different. You don't rush. You don't force smiles. You don't need to speak, but your presence speaks first. You're not loud. You're not dramatic. But you carry something rare, a stillness that demands respect. You no longer need validation. You don't seek the spotlight. Because the moment you stopped chasing attention, tension began to follow you. In meetings, people pause when you shift in your seat. Not because you raise your voice, but because when you speak, it matters. They listen. In relationships, you don't chase connection. You don't over-explain. You don't beg to be seen. Instead, you let your calm become your boundary. You let your silence say, I'm here because I choose to be, and I can leave just as easily. You're no longer emotionally available to anyone who hasn't earned it, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. And slowly, people around you begin to change. The one who used to interrupt you thinks twice. The one who used to mock you lowers their voice. The one who used to test you stops playing games, not because you confronted them, but because your stillness became harder to navigate than their manipulation. There will even be people younger than you watching quietly. They won't know what it is about you, only that they feel it. They'll study your posture, your timing, your silence, and one day they'll realize you became the man. They're trying to figure out, you'll remember a time when you couldn't hold eye contact, when you laughed too quickly, when you gave too much away. But now that version of you is gone. Now you walk into every room knowing this. You don't need to be understood because you've become something better. You've become undeniable. And in the next part, you'll see what happens if you ever let go of that presence. If you slip back into old habits and hand your power away again. Now, look at the other side of the story, not the future you want, but the one waiting for you if you slip. You walk into a room with something to say. You think you're confident, but it's a confidence built on thin glass. One glance, one smirk, one subtle jab, and it cracks, your smile turns nervous. Your tone shifts. Your words speed up. You start explaining, then defending, then over-defending. You think you're winning them back, but all you're doing is proving you can be rattled. And here's what happens next. They stop listening to your point. They start reading your state. They see the insecurity. They smell the need. You've lost the room. Not because your idea was wrong, but because you were exposed. People don't forget that moment. They remember exactly what cracked you. They store it, they save it, and they wait for the day they need to use it. Machiavelli understood this. The world doesn't reward raw emotion. It studies it, files it away, turns it into a weapon. You've felt this before. The time you shared too much and watched someone walk away. The time you admitted a fear and saw it used against you later. Every sigh, every flinch, every quick apology, they're all data points you've handed to the wrong people. And once they have the map to your emotions, they control the terrain. This is how power is lost. Not in one dramatic collapse, but in a slow leak you never patched. One smile too quick, one explanation too soon, one moment where you showed them exactly how to pull you off balance. By the time you realize it, you're not the one shaping the moment anymore. You're just reacting to it. And once you start reacting, you're already losing. In the next part, we're going to seal those cracks. Piece by piece, we'll reset your identity from the inside so that no matter what's thrown at you, nothing gets through. It's time to reset. Not with motivation, not with affirmations. With structure, you've been too easy to read, too quick to respond, too eager to prove yourself. That stops now. From this moment forward, you're no longer a book left open on the table. You're a locked vault. No one sees inside unless you decide to let them. This isn't about killing your emotions. It's about training them, owning them, choosing when, where, and how they appear. From now on, you move from reaction to observation. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't ask, how do I feel right now? You ask, what are they trying to make me feel and why? That single shift pulls you out of their control. You also master your nonverbal language. Your eyes, your breathing, your posture. Nothing leaks without your permission. You never give them the satisfaction of seeing you flinch. And above all, you build silence into your identity. You don't speak to fill the air. You speak to be remembered. And if there's nothing worth saying, you let the silence do it for you. The old version of you, the one who overshared, overexplained, overreacted, is gone. No announcement, no ceremony, just gone. In his place stands a man who can't be moved from the outside because he's already fortified the inside. You don't need them to understand you. You don't need their approval. You don't even need to convince them you've changed. They'll see it. They'll feel it. And they'll adjust to it, whether they want to or not. In the final part, we take this shift to its sharpest edge, where silence stops being a defense and becomes your most dangerous weapon. You don't need applause. You don't need the crowd to nod. Because now you understand real power doesn't roar. It doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't ask for permission. It arrives quietly, and it changes the air when it does. You walk into a room, you don't rush. You don't scan for approval. You don't speak to prove you belong. You stand steady, unshaken, and the room adjusts to you. The one who used to interrupt you thinks twice. The one who used to mock you lowers their voice. The one who tried to pull you into their game stops playing, not because you told them to, but because they can't read you anymore. And no one wants to fight a man whose rules they don't know. You've become too expensive to provoke, too unpredictable to manipulate, too disciplined to lose by accident. And then, one day, someone will ask, why are you like this now? Why so calm? Why so deliberate? Why so silent? You'll look at them, and without a hint of performance, you'll answer, because power doesn't explain itself, and silence never lies. Then you'll walk away. No final word, no second glance, because you no longer need to win the game. You've already left the board, and they're still trying to figure out how you did it. That's the final victory, not beating the competition, but becoming untouchable by it. From here on, you don't chase respect. You carry it with you. You don't demand attention. Your presence earns it before you speak. And when you choose to speak, every word will land heavier because they'll know you could have stayed silent. Now go. Be the man they can't predict, the one they can't control, the one they have to respect. Because the moment you master your silence, you master the room. And when you master the room, you master the world.